And just like that, your Mac's gonna rename all your files for you. Alright, so you got yourself a new MacBook Pro and you're ready to get productive. But hold on a minute. Before you get carried away, there are some settings within macOS that I think you should consider tweaking to smooth out your macOS experience. These are the changes that I personally use to save time and boost productivity, so I hope they can help you guys out as well. Here's how I optimize macOS. First up, enable App Expose. One of the best things about MacBooks have always been how great the trackpad is. Part of the reason is because of how accurate the tracking is, but part of it is because of how good the gesture controls are, so I like to have as many gesture controls as possible. By swiping down with 4 fingers, App Expose lets you see all the windows of the same app at a glance, which can be very useful when dealing with a lot of windows from the same application. To enable this, open System Preferences to access the trackpad options. From there, go to the More Gestures tab and check the box next to App Expose. Enable Tap to Click. I've also enabled Tap to Click back in the Point and Click tab. This is something I got used to from using MacBooks before the introduction of haptic touch. It's pretty self-explanatory, but it allows you to tap the trackpad to register a click, rather than having to click down to activate the haptic touch. Alright, while we're talking about the trackpad, I also like to enable the 3-finger drag. This is also something I adopted back when MacBook trackpads didn't have haptic touch, and moving files around was a bit more of a drag, but I still find it useful to this day. By default, you have to click down on the trackpad while dragging, but I've always found it a bit clunky, so this setting lets you drag any item by simply touching 3 fingers on the trackpad. To do this, we'll have to access the accessibility options from the System Preferences. From here, scroll down to the pointer control section on the left-hand side. Click the trackpad options, check the box next to Enable Dragging, and in the drop-down menu, select 3-finger drag. Admittedly, this is a small change, but I do find it helps me move items around more accurately. Next, we're going to stop macOS from rearranging your spaces. Virtual desktops or spaces are really useful when you have multiple desktops or tasks you're trying to complete. Having all those windows on one desktop gets confusing. So virtual desktops let you declutter your workspace by allowing you to rearrange your windows into project-specific desktops. However, macOS adds a layer of confusion into the mix by automatically rearranging your desktops and reassigning your desktop numbers based on recently used desktops. Coupled by the fact that you can't rename desktops yourself like you can on Windows, things get confusing fast when you have a lot of windows that are constantly being rearranged. To disable this, open System Preferences. Go into Mission Control Settings and uncheck Automatically Rearrange Spaces based on most recent use. Choosing a default folder when opening a new Finder window. By default, a new Finder window will open your recently opened documents, but that's not necessarily what you're looking for, and there might be other files you need to access more regularly, like a work folder. Well, you can change this so it opens a specific folder every time. To do this, go to the menu bar and click Finder, then Preferences. Under the General tab, access the default folder drop-down menu and select the folder you'd like. And Bob's your uncle. A new Finder window will now open your designated folder. While we're here, we can also adjust another setting to have the Finder search bar only search your current folder. Have you ever turned to the Finder search bar to find a specific file within a folder, only to have Finder search through your entire system and turn out results that are completely unrelated? If you have, then this one's for you. You can actually change this so that the search bar only shows results from the current folder. To do this, simply click over from the General tab we were on before to the Advanced tab. From here, use the When performing a search drop-down menu to select Search the current folder. While we're in Finder, let's also enable the Path and Status bar. Coming from a Windows background, I've always wondered why macOS hides the folder location by default. How do I know what folder I'm in? How do I copy the folder path? Well, the path bar lets you see exactly where your folder is located. To enable this, go to the View tab in the menu bar and select Show Path Bar. To copy a path, simply right-click on the folder you want to copy and select Copy as Path Name. Under the same View tab, I also like to enable the Status bar by selecting Show Status Bar. The status bar gives you useful information, like the number of files in the folder and the remaining space on your Mac. Okay, 2 quick bonus Finder tips. Add shortcuts to the Finder toolbar. You can add any app, file, or folder by holding the Command key and dragging an item into the Finder toolbar. This is useful if you need to access anything often from Finder. Full screen slideshows in Finder. You can use Finder to enter a full screen slideshow. To do this, select some files, press Option and Space, and you'll have started a slideshow with your selected files. You can also use the index icon to preview all your selected files. Setting up Automator to rename files with dates created. We're going to set up a workflow in Automator, which is going to allow us to quickly add a timestamp to the start of a file name. I use this to automatically rename footage or photos I take, but its use extends to organizing business documents like invoices as well. This is a real time saver, but it does take a little more to set up, so stick with me. As I mentioned before, we're going to use Automator. Automator is a powerful tool that comes included with macOS that lets you set automated workflows. In this case, we'll be setting a workflow to automatically rename files for us. To do this, open Automator. You can find it in the folder named Other in the Launchpad. Go to the menu bar and click File, New. From here, click Quick Action. Change Workflow Receives to Files and Folders in Finder. You can also change the icon and color for your quick action. Next, search Rename in the actions on the left and drag Rename Finder items into your workflow. You'll get a prompt that asks if you want to duplicate the file you're renaming to preserve the original file. I don't want to do that, so I'll click Don't Add. Alright, so I want to rename my files to include the time created. So we're going to leave the date/time setting as created. From here, we're going to change format to hour, minute. Where to before name. The first separator field dictates the separators within the thing you're adding. In our case, it's asking how we'd like to separate the hours and minutes within the name. For this, I'm going to select none, and you'll notice the example shows that the hours and minutes are now grouped together. The second separator field is asking how we'd like what we're adding to be separated from the original name. For this, I'm going to select space, and again you're going to see in the example that there's a space between the time we've added and our original name. Make sure to check the leading zeros box. This simply adds a 0 in front of single-digit numbers within the time, which will keep the names uniform and easier to visually sort through. For example, if the time is 12:05, we want it to show 1205 and not 125. Okay, now that we've added the time, we need to add the date at the start of the file as well. We're going to look up Rename Finder items and add it to the workflow again. You'll get the same prompt as before. Click Don't Add if you don't want to duplicate your file. This time, we're going to change the format to year, month, day, and where to before name. I like to have the year, month, day separated by a dash, and I want to have the date separated from the time with an underscore. Okay, make sure you have Use Leading Zeros selected again, click File in the menu bar and select Save. Rename your quick action to a name you'd like, and save your quick action. To use your new quick action, select some files in Finder. Right-click on the files, go down to Quick Actions and select your new quick action. And just like that, your Mac's going to rename all your files for you. Set up keyboard shortcuts for Safari and Chrome. Call me lazy, but I really don't like navigating the cursor all the way up to the top of the screen to change tabs. So I've set up some keyboard shortcuts to make navigating tabs a bit easier. Safari's default keyboard shortcuts are Control-Tab and Control-Shift-Tab to navigate back and forth through browser tabs. I haven't found that particularly ergonomic though, especially Control-Shift-Tab. You can use Command 1 to 9 to navigate to corresponding tabs on your Safari window, but that means you're out of luck if you're using more than 9 tabs. And it's not easy to identify the number that corresponds to each tab. When using my MacBook, I always tend to find my hands hovering over the left side of the keyboard, due to macOS's inbuilt shortcuts like Command W and Command Q when exiting tabs and applications. So I figured why not set up shortcuts to take advantage of this. I've set Show Next Tab as Command R and Show Previous Tab as Command E. To do this, open System Preferences and go to the keyboard settings. From here, go to the Shortcuts tab and click on App Shortcuts. Click the plus sign and find Safari in the Application drop-down menu. Next to the menu title, enter Show Next Tab. Click on the box next to Keyboard Shortcuts and hit Command R. Now repeat this step, but instead enter Show Previous Tab in the menu title field and hit Command E once the keyboard shortcut field has been selected. Note that using Command R does override Safari's default keyboard shortcut for refreshing a web page. So if that's a keyboard shortcut you use often, you'll want to assign a keyboard shortcut that works better for you. You can also use this method to customize the same keyboard shortcuts for Google Chrome. Just make sure you select Google Chrome in the Application drop-down menu, and enter Select Next Tab and Select Previous Tab in the menu title fields. Alright, bonus tip for Safari users. This is a quick way to save web pages in Safari and a great way to transition from macOS to iOS or vice versa. I'm talking about tab groups. I found it useful for organizing tabs on macOS, while also increasing the usability of Safari on iOS devices. To create a tab group, right-click on a tab and hover your cursor over Move to Tab Group. From here, you can add the tab to a new tab group or add it to an existing tab group. You can also add all your current browser tabs to a new tab group by opening the sidebar and clicking on New Tab Group with Tabs. Tab groups can be accessed in the sidebar or through the drop-down menu in the top left corner of your browser. Alright, so the coolest thing about tab groups is that they sync across all your Apple devices if you're signed into the same iCloud account. You can access all your tab groups on an iOS device by long pressing on the tabs icon in Safari and selecting the tab group. Alright, so those are the things that I do to optimize macOS. If there's anything that you think I missed and that I should incorporate, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. If you found this video useful, please consider dropping a like and subscribing. And that's it. I'll see you next time.